You're welcome back. Yes, our guest is right here in the studio with us this morning.
Yes, and then we'll be talking about the economy, the Nigerian economy outlook in 2025. We all know that the economy of any nation is an integral part of the growth of such nation. And then because we know it involves production, distribution, trade, consumption of goods and services, and knowing also that it involves the management of resources. But how is our country, Nigeria, doing this in this regard, and how does this affect the people of the country? So this is the cross of discussion today, and we have our guest, like he said. Well, we'll see his profile, and when we come back, we'll discuss more. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You've met our guest on the screen. Now we're meeting in person, also on the screen. And we're talking about no other one than Olusesan Okunade, FPMA UK, MCOTA, ACTI, FCA, so that you will know that he's grounded. He's a chartered accountant, he's a tax professional, he's a public and policy affairs analyst. So who else could we have called that will talk about economy? Is just the right person. You're welcome to Morning Ride.
Yeah, good morning for me, and good morning, Chief White.
Thank you. You got it.
It's not a small feat for you to be called Chief.
It isn't.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So, a lot of people now, when I call or when they call, they're like, Chief. I'm like, it's like my name is going from YK to Chief.
When they call your name and they don't put the Chief, please.
It's not
Can you imagine? A lot of people don't even throw the YK away as a Chief.
Yeah,
so you know that they are calling you.
No, we have to put that emphasis there, Chief YK. Thank you for having me this morning. And let me say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I think the last time I was on site was a New Year show like this.
Yeah, this time last year.
Last year, yeah. I think we started the year together to talk on economy, and thanks for the opportunity. Maybe before we proceed, I will join my words with Yinka Kenny, Chief YK, to say congratulations to the new Alafe. That's where my mom came from, being the daughter of a past Mogaji, Abogunre there. So I feel I should identify with the Kabiesi, a very young, dynamic man, who I believe it will bring so much transformation to Oyo State.
Okay, so even though I'm not from Oyo, my sister lives there, so I
so you joined your faith with
your people. Very successful philanthropy. Philanthropy. It's successful. His philanthropy work speaks for him in every way, and honestly,
and we hope that it continues.
It's a new dawn.
No, it will. You will.
All right, so let's go to the topic of today. We were talking about economy outlook for 2025 in Nigeria, and it's good to know that you started the show with economy last year. So now, tell us how, in retrospect, economy outlook in 2024?
Yeah, for me, let me start by saying it's 50-50. If you give it to, if you allow me to use that words economic-wise in the country, an average citizen can cry that the hardship was actually there. We all feel the pain, and I know Mr. President alluded to that there are serious pains in the land. But there are certain things that you need to put in the right perspective to make sure that we continue to have safe landing. And I have this to say that in 2024, we're able to resuscitate 2 of our refineries that have been redundant for years. And that's strategic, so that's for the growth of what we should start feeling in 2025. I needed to start from there. It's been done for years, and it's been more of importation of fuel, and Dangote seems to be the major driver. But now, what we called for as analysts, as a stakeholder in the business, is to see how we can have our local refinery, possibly compete with Dangote, even if it is small quantities, with the private sector. And not even that alone, you can start having concentration. So if the Warri refinery is there, it can take care of the people in the south and their environment. The Port Harcourt can transfer certain things to the north, and Dangote takes care of the global space, which he wants to do. So I feel that is actually a plus to the government in the last year that we just concluded. Because I was an advocate, I was not resting on military on that particular thing, because he gave Mr. President 2023 December for Port Harcourt. We didn't see it. We came up with March, and everywhere I go, it was as if he took something away from me. So, but it's something we know that the impact will definitely contribute immensely to our economy. Don't forget that we are where we are today because Mr. President considered that he needs to take a bold step of removing subsidy, and everything just got high up there. But plus and minus, I'm yet to place the balance of the slight effect we had in December. We dropped from 1,025 to about 925, 935, which the 100 naira on its own is still something. At least if you are fueling for like 50,000, that you can reduce it to about 40,000. The 10,000 can still take your fuel tank. But on the other aspect, we have the fiscal policy under the leadership of the committee set up by Mr. President Taiwo Udele came up with the controversial tax reform that it's on the lips of everyone. Everywhere you go, you don't discuss tax reform. It's as if you have not said anything. So controversial that even as yesterday I was on a particular TV station discussing an arm of a region advocating that one of the key factors, VAT, that has been the center of confusion, should be reduced to 3%. And a lot of us were like, I don't understand that. If you ask me, reducing VAT when global best practice and the standard rate, even for developed clients, when it comes to value-added tax, is about 27%. It ranges between 18 and 27%. And we are talking of coming to 3%. How do you want the government to actually generate revenue?
Okay. Sorry to break you. As media people, I would implore that, because the hairdressers, the bus drivers, the hawkers, traders, we all are involved. Please.
In the layman's language.
In the layman's language.
Explain.
To an extent, just
took that
the
off my
economy
mind.
terminologies, just try and, play down on it so that everybody understands what we are saying now. So like I said at the introduction, so that we know if we have to buckle our belts or we have to loosen them, everybody's carried on.
Okay.
Then also I would like, sorry, let me just chip this in while you are at that. This tax reform is being a topic everywhere, and personally, I find it difficult to explain to the layman there. I understand it, but maybe because I'm not a tax person, to the layman, explain the tax reforms and the benefits, the pros and the cons, and why we have some people, agitating that we do not want it, and some people are saying that it's okay.
Okay, well, like we said, for 2025, see, we have two ways of funding our budgets, the oil aspect and the non-oil. And this taxation is one of the non-oil area of generating revenue for the government. Tax, first and foremost, is an obligation for individuals and corporate organizations. Is after you're guaranteed to heaven, the next thing you need to talk about is tax. Because it's something that you must oblige to do, and it's a global practice for every, in fact, that is the only legal means government can collect money from the citizen. And when you talk about these taxes, when it comes to individual, you do your pay as you earn, being an employee to an organization. And for those that own businesses, the small, medium enterprise, they also fulfill by remitting on self-reporting taxation of their income for the year and that of the businesses. When it comes to corporate organization, you have those corporate taxes that they have to pay, and that's where you have this value-added tax where you charge. You have the withholding tax also that is actually being withheld. You see, when you look at the tax reform, the committee has actually did a lot of work, and one of the benefits of this tax reform, from what we've read, and we consider that if it's implemented will be beneficiary to all, is first and foremost the exemption of the payee to be increased to about 800,000 to 1 million. So if you earn 800,000 per annum to 1 million, you are exempted from paying taxes. At all. At all.
Per annum.
Per annum. I'm not saying per month. It's per annum. So what that applies to is that those, you know, there was increase in minimum wage to about 70,000, and the implementation has started already. So if you have used the old rate of, I think about 500 something, that means you'll be exempted from 500, add the other 300, and allow that, you pay tax on that. But the committee has sat down to say, no, we are hiking it to about 800 and to 1 million to make sure that an average citizen who do not earn so much, are not overburdened, you know, in paying some of those taxes. The other aspect of it that I consider laudable is that the small and medium enterprise, before now, the last administration did something saying that you'll be exempted from paying company tax if you do a business of about 25 million. But now, in the tax reform, you have about 50 million that you'll be excluded from paying taxes as an organization. And you consider that as a float for you. If you are going to pay about 1-point-something million as your tax, that can be reinvested back into the business, you know, for you to grow some of the things that you say. But there are area of concern which everybody is actually discussing, where you see the brick wall between maybe the north, the south, the east, and the area of that discourse is looking at this VAT, the sharing formula. Before now, it's been based on population, based certain percentage to derivation, certain percentage to population, and you consider that population was given the large chunk, about 60%. When you are sharing it, you give 20% to derivative, another 20% to the look of it, then the 60% will be based on population. But the tax reform, the committee came up to say, we can't go the route of population, in the sense that we need to, the tax we're talking about has to do with value and what you are contributing to the bottom line. So what we are going to do is that the derivation will take more. That is, you can produce a particular thing in Lagos, and the HQ is in Lagos. You remit your tax in Lagos. That will be abolished. What we are going to do is that, as a producer, Fumi produces this particular product that is consumed, you know, nationally. What we're going to do is, how are you having your patronage? Your consumption might even be in Osun State.
More than where your headquarters
is. So the fact remains that as that patronage comes up, the states where you have that patronage will enjoy more of what you are contributing to the pool of the government. And that's what they are actually advocating for in a layman language. And a lot of people feel that, no, we might be at disadvantage because certain goods that are being vetted are not welcomed by us. But some of us feel that is a fair way of actually bringing out one of the tenets of taxation, which is fairness. So that you don't go ahead and shortchange. And I remember when Taiwo Yedele was actually speaking on this, he said Lagos has enjoyed those largesse because 90% of the headquarters of every organization resides in Lagos. And you pay the VAT in Lagos. So you see Lagos coming up to saying that, having that high revenue generation. Yeah. And now it's going to be, if Ogun State is taking 1%, Kano is taking 3%. These are the proportion at which we are going to share that, not based on population. You can have the population, but you are not patronizing me. And I'm actually contributing to the pool, and you want to enjoy more without patronizing me.
So it's the state that patronizes.
So it's what you bring to the table
that you enjoy as those things is. And a lot of people feel that, well, some of the vertible goods, we may not be in support of it, so we might not be in favor. And that's what is bringing this argument forth and back. But it's good. It's an healthy argument, criticism, which is actually bringing a lot of people to round table. And I must say this, I listened to the chairman of that committee coming up to say, even when they were actually calling on stakeholders to have engagement, a lot of people were not actually yielding. Because they thought it was business as usual.
As usual.
Now that thing came to table, and people are looking at this is becoming reality, and everybody is discussing it. It gives room for us to say this is the inclusion we've always been saying. Because most of the time, people will come up with policies that will not favor everyone, and we allow it to go because we are not participating in it. Yeah. But this has become a major discourse. Even the people that have set up those initial reforms are now coming to terms to say, okay, the idea you are bringing now, we can see where we can introduce this, bring this out. But we all said we cannot throw away the baby with the bad water and feel that that will not work. If we allow that to move, we've seen some sign and signal, because the SME needs some of these reliefs. It takes more than 60% of our economy. And there is no, if you don't allow the common man to breathe, that all you are just putting on them is bringing up taxation. And don't forget, there's one thing that this committee is actually working on, which is one of the bill that is before them, to have a central way of collecting these taxes. What that will do for an average SME is that I understand the tax I'm to pay in a year.
That's it.
Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5?
So
I don't want to see
anymore.
If you come out with any other thing, I am not going to oblige to it. That aid your planning as an organization, as a businessman. Do you know what an average informal sector person feels in the ends of tax collectors? Yes. And do you know the interesting thing? I was with one of the chairman of the subnational. As far as they are concerned, there's a thin line with the collection from the state and the local government, but an average man does not know that extension. As far as they are concerned, everything is tax. Whether it's levy, whether it's admin fee, everything is tax. And this committee is coming to speak to that, to say, can we have a situation where this will be collected centrally, and there are codes to it,
so
and that's why
what
you're paying for, and that's why we said, even for other revenue collection agency, rather than splitting them, you have MPA, you have upstream, you have FRS, there is multiplicity of taxes. The custom will charge you certain amount, FRS will come with their own, this. If we are able to streamline that, we'll say no. This 1, 2, 3 taxes that is being collected by 3 different agencies is now being streamlined to one. And we can all understand that. So I will always be an advocate to say we can't continue to do the same thing the same way and expect different results. Can we give, a brief to this new idea and new initiative? The other aspect I want to speak to is this is the first time we're seeing a good handshake between the monetary policy and the fiscal policy to see the best that we can, explore out of this particular thing. And when I mean the monetary policy, that's the CBN is actually overseeing that, while the Minister of Finance, work with the fiscal policy. How can they have a good handshake in such a way that the pressure on the monetary policy can be reduced. And when you talked about some of these key things in monetary policy, you talked about inflation. You and I know how hard it's biting on every one of us as we speak. But the major crop that leads to that high inflation, it speaks more to food inflation. And that's why, as one of the critical things we expect the government to do this year, is to concentrate more on security. And we've seen, I've been an advocate to say, Mr. President, one of the people that actually supported state policing, 2 years down the drain, we are not seeing the workability of that particular thing. We've had opportunity to travel out of the country, and we've seen, if you go to US, you see county police, you see metropolitan police, you see their state, the federal police, they work, hand in hand. Because majority of the level of insecurity we are experiencing are always on the suburb. A friend just came from Maiduguri, and he said, Shesan, I'm live in Maiduguri. I can't see anything happening. I said, yes, you won't see anything happening because where you are is the center, is the capital. But where those issues are happening are the suburbs. I remember 2 years ago when it was at the peak of it, I was in Kaduna. And I told everyone I was in Ghana, they were like, why are you in Kaduna? Are you on a suicide mission? That was the period that they hijacked the aircraft of, I think, was it the defense minister in Kaduna then. I was practically, in fact, I moved from Abuja to Kaduna by road. And all the prayer warriors that knows me were actually on prayer, praying for me. But the issue there is that we got to Kaduna by road. But majorly, that particular period, when I was in Kaduna, there was news of attack here and there. And I thought very few people, a lot of us still keep night while we are still out there in Kaduna because coffee were not placed in some areas. So that's why we believe that government need to redirect this and re-strategize in the area of security. We cannot overemphasize it. We need local policing. We need state policing in such a way that in your area, look at some of the estates in developed area. Do you see intruder going into that area? You come to my estate now. Security. Even before you access my gate, there is an access.
Yes.
If a chief wants to come and pay a visit to me, it's not something you just drive in. I must call the gate. So when you are coming unannounced and you get to the gate and I don't want to see you, and you say this, I say, I'm not expecting any visitor. And you go, that on its own streamline the activity. Also, when you work in your locality, if new person is coming on board, you can have an engagement. If you have 1, 2, 3 people join you and you start saying different thing happening, you can ask questions. This has not been happening before. It's just like your house now. You suddenly engage an house help and things started missing.
Definitely.
You ask the question, something funny is actually happening. You can direct it. So this, you may not understand the culture of our environment, but we don't experience this. And this has started happening. And that's why people like me will continue to advocate that irrespective of area where people are looking at it, that we want to politicize security when you hand it over in the hands of a state governor, I will say no. Election is just once in a blue moon. And look in every 4 years. And look at it. We've had it work in a state like Lagos, where they can collaborate with the private sector, with the Lagos State Trust Fund, to raise funds. Remember, in Lagos, we have RRS, which is responsible to the state to combat some of the crime that is actually being carried out there. Why can't we reciprocate this in other states so that the person you call the chief security officer of the state can be held responsible where there are insecurity in the state, not you all the time? Because I faulted the governor of Oyo State when he came out to say, sir, they are infiltrating into my state. And I asked, you are the chief executive, the chief security officer of that state. But I don't blame him again. The CP will not report to the governor. He reports to the IGP. And when they even have security meeting, he will tell you that I have heard, I must take instruction from above. And that's why we feel that where there are immediate action to be taken, the governor and the CP can collaborate and see how they tame activity before you get instruction from above.
because you are reporting to someone. Somebody has a first-hand information of the issue at hand. That's the way I feel that we need to go. If you're able to beef up our security and improve on it, I can tell you, my word is always a secured environment is a prosperous environment. Whichever way you want to look at it.
Okay, let me take you back to inflation. You know, inflation has been a persistent issue in Nigeria long before last year. We know that at some point the inflation rate was global, but we can see that, you know, towards the end of the last year, it's in some parts of the world it's getting stabilized, but we realize that here we'll still have persistent inflation. What measures do you think that government and the CBN should prioritize this year to control it?
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to look at the area of collaboration among the agencies that manages our finances. What do I say? I've spoken in the area of security. When people don't produce, there is no how you want to improve as a nation. At the level at which we are, truth be told, that we are consuming nation, we are not productive in any art. Maybe I'll give kudos to Mr. President with the initiative of Dangote Refinery. But Dangote will tell you that it wasn't an easy task. A lot of foreign funding went into that particular investment. CBN of old, before Yemi Cardoso took over, we saw how much we were told was invested into agriculture. But you asked, do we have the dividends of some of these things? I think there is an area where we lack. We don't monitor activities to actually have whether we are progressing or we are going back, or to re-strategize. So you would say there
is no accountability?
Once there is no monitoring, accountability will be a tall order for anybody to achieve. Because so much money was plowed into alcohol borrowing and the likes, and they, up till today, they will tell you that insecurity, they allow those people. So you collected the money and you are hammering it on insecurity. Meanwhile, some of those funds have been diverted to add value to yourself by taking more wives, you know, at the detriment of what you are supposed to invest to grow for the economy. Two, are there consequences for people when they actually mismanage funds? I listened to one of your headlines of what we are recouping from the mismanagement of funds that has idle. Part of the things I always tell individuals is, if you are able to recoup such money, pardon me, interest should be paid on it. That 52 point something $million at a particular time, we all know what it would have done.
Of that money.
If you have invested that money that it's not in the hands of individual, that would have built some skills. But now you are recouping it and the person feels that I can give you back what I have taken. No. People will be willing to do that. But when you say, this so much that you have done, whether we are going to throw you to bankrupt, this is the prevailing interest rate that you should pay
on it.
Now that it's ascertained,
for as long as it has been
you know, ascertained that you actually had the money and we are repatriating back. People will now have second thought. If I steal this money and they get hold of me that is stealing, there is penalty attached. Because in taxation, when you don't pay your tax as at when due, there are penalty attached to it. So it's like you are keeping the money for us. We are expecting that you should have invested it for us and give us the interest to proceed with some of the money. But what we will just say is that this money will come in. And also, the area of blocking loopholes is very fundamental. I'll tell everyone that care to listen, this country is not broke. When I hear our leaders stating that we are broke, we are short of funds, I say we are not. It's misplacement of priorities. What do you use the funds that you are getting for? And this will take me to when subsidy was removed. The Minister of Finance came up to announce to us that so much money was actually, you know, received into the coffers of FACT. Trillions of naira. And all we heard then that we want to push this to the state government. The same money that goes to state government, how many of them are actually using the money, you know, for infrastructural development? Except for few. A lot of them still go back and, Mr. President, come to my rescue. When I've given you enough funds, and that's an area we expect that you cannot just be dishing out money to people. People must start asking questions at the state level. Everything we all concentrate our might on is always to the center. But we refuse to know that we should hold our state governors accountable. We should hold our local government accountable. People are yearning for autonomy. When the funds start getting to the local government, how much question? When you can't even ask state government question about some of the way funds are being saved. Somebody is telling you that it's carrying out an infrastructure. What is the viability of that infrastructure that is actually investing the money to? Is it what we need? Is it what will serve us for the next 1 year? I think there was a state I was hearing that they're actually building up to build an airport. And I said, what's the value proposition of that particular thing to your state? Is it about a legacy you want to build for yourself so that after you have exited the office, they can name it after you, that you actually built that? Or it's something that is going to impact on the common man that you're actually leading? You have some state that what they need currently is some of these funds being put into agricultural development. I'll give it to past government. There was a collaboration between Lagos State and Kebbi that gave back to Lake Rice.
Lake Rice, yeah.
What both of us have done is that I know your strength, you know my strength. You can produce, you have the vast land. I can consume. Which you can do that and bring it, even bring some of those things. That's why we saw the development of the rice factory at Timota. But today, I am asking myself, what's the state of that particular investment as we speak? So enough of we always starting white elephant project, abandoning the existence of others. We must be able to see. I expect that some of these projects, if we have the continuity as expected, this country is seriously blessed. And every citizen we have that impact that is expected.
I think on that note of seriously blessed, and you've gone on to local government, we're going to proceed with that with our next guest. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. He has said it all, and he has touched everyone. What we all need to do to make sure that at least the economic outlook in 2025 favors everyone. Thank you, Olusesan Okunade, for your time.
Always a beautiful time to be with beautiful ladies.
Especially the chief.
The chief, Chief YK.
All right, we'll go on the break, and when we come back, you meet our next guest, and we'll talk about local government.